Hello, this is your lecturer, Albert Wonyo. What we're going to discuss is subject-verb agreement. You know, in writing our academic essays, our long essays, there is the need for us to construct sentences that are well formed. One of the sources of error in sentence construction is the error of subject-verb agreement. So that is what we are going to look at in this video. Now, what happens is that we usually commit subject-verb agreement errors when the nature of the subject is not clear enough. So let's look at some of these instances. One of such instances is the use of the indefinite pronoun one of, none of, each of, neither of. So in these cases, you realize that it's a number of things. But when we say, for example, one of the participants, there are a number of participants, but we're talking about one. So one of the participants was interviewed and not were interviewed. Each of the isotopes has its own atomic number. None of the students is present. You get it? Great. Now, let's look at another instance. Another instance where we tend to commit errors is when we have the use of a group of, a box of, especially when you have a group of. For example, a group of students. We are talking about a group, and that is singular. So a group is, that is why it is correct to say a group of students is here to see you. The next example, a box of books was donated. So the idea here is that a box was donated, but inside the box, we have books. A team of doctors and nurses. It is what? A team. So a team takes care. So a team of doctors and nurses takes care of the patients. Great. The next instance is the use of prepositional phrases that intervene between the subject and the verb. So the example we have here, the meeting. So the meeting is just one, but we can qualify the type of meeting and we can say the meeting between the two parties has been cancelled. So the thing is, the meeting has been cancelled. Don't shift your attention to the two parties because that is not the subject. The lady, so we are talking about the lady. The lady is the subject here. So the lady beside the two gentlemen is my sister. The design of the new cars is beautiful. It is what? The design is beautiful. The new cars, that is not the subject. The last example, the daughters of Mr. Mensah are beautiful. Mind you, we are talking about the daughters. So the daughters are beautiful. The focus is not Mr. Mensah. Now let's look at the next instance. The next instance is when we use phrases like especially, except, including, in exception of. And usually it starts with a plural subject. Then one out of that is specified. And the subject is still the plural and not what has been specified. So we have the example here. All the courses, especially psychology, are interesting. So the subject is what? All the courses. So all the courses are interesting, especially psychology. The next example, all the workers except Mr. Mensah were given awards. So all the workers were given awards except Mr. Mensah. Great. Now, another instance where we tend to commit subject-verb agreement errors is the use of this, some people call it a pseudo-conjunction, with. With is not able to join two things like how we use and. So, whenever we use and, the subject becomes plural. But when we use with, for example, the president, together with his ministers, is coming. But if we say the president and his ministers, we say are coming. So with does not join because we can disjoin that sentence and make it the president is coming to Winnipeg together with his ministers. The next example, Alhaji Baba, accompanied by his wives, has arrived. The subject is what? Alhaji Baba. So Alhaji Baba has arrived, accompanied by his wives. The school prefect, together with several others, is in the office, because that sentence is the same as the school prefect is in the office, together with several others. Now let's look at the next instance. When we have neither nor, either or, and then not only, but also. These sentence constructions come in the form of having two subjects. There's a correlationship between the two subjects. So the rule is that because there are two subjects, the verb should agree with the subject that is closer to the verb. So let's look at the first example there. We have neither the lecturer nor the students. So the second subject is what? The student. And the verb is closer to the student. So it should be neither the lecturer nor the students are aware. That's great. Then next example, either his friends or the boy has. So we have the boy closer to the verb. So it should be the boy has run away. Not only the lawyer, but the judges have deserted the court. Okay, now the next example or instance where we tend to commit errors is items that are perceived as one, but they occur as plural. For example, you see the spectacles I have here. This is a spectacle. It is spectacles, though it is just one. So we say the man's spectacles are missing, though it is just one. And because you can't tell whether they are two separate spectacles or one is called spectacles. So anytime you use spectacles, you use a plural form of verb. Unless you want to make it singular, then you have to say a pair of spectacles is. But once you say spectacles, then it should be what? Are. The second example, scissors also occur as two. So scissors are used to cut clothing materials. Great. Now, we also have a special use of the coordinating conjunction and. You know, the usual use is that we use it to join two subjects, like Kofi and Ama are. But we also use and to join two titles that belong to the same person. So in that case, since the two titles belong to the same person, we use the singular form of the verb. So we have the striker and captain of the Black Star is Dede Ayew. Dede Ayew is just one, but he's the captain and he's the striker. Great. The next example, we have the founder and leader of the PPP is Dr. Indu, because he's the same person who is the founder and the leader. Great. Then we also have the use of the relative pronoun. The relative pronoun is used to introduce a clause into an existing clause. So we have, for example, one of the men. You see, you can have one of the men betrayed Jesus. But we can use the relative pronoun to introduce the men we are talking about. So we have one of the men. So the men who were with Jesus. So the full sentence becomes one of the men who were with Jesus betrayed him. How many men? 12. But only one betrayed him. So there were men with Jesus. Then the second example. Dr. Wonyo is one of the lecturers who are teaching communication skills. So there are lecturers who are teaching, but he is just one of them. Then the last example we have, the Daily Graphic, is one of the newspapers that have been awarded for accurate reportage. So there are newspapers that have been awarded, and the Daily Graphic is one of them. Great. So that is what we have for today. Thank you.